My name is Daniel Torres, 42 years old, financial analyst. My life revolves around numbers and data, a world where every equation tells a story. But as I sat in my home office on an otherwise unremarkable Friday, my orderly life unraveled at the seams. A notification popped up on my phone, shattering the silence. Withdrawal alert, $10,000 from joint savings account. My heart raced, disbelief washing over me. We had meticulously monitored our finances, and a withdrawal that size, without my knowledge? It felt like a punch to the gut. Stay calm, I muttered, pouring a glass of water to soothe my trembling hands. This wasn't just about the money, it was personal. I needed to dig deeper. I logged into our online banking, my pulse quickening as I scanned for details. To my shock, the transaction information was sparse, devoid of context, just a staggering dollar amount looming ominously. It felt deliberate, as if someone had gone to great lengths to hide the truth. My mind flickered to Luis Harper, a close friend who had become an unpredictable variable in our lives recently. Why did his name send a shiver down my spine? Luis had always been charming, leeching off the success around him while disguising his greed behind casual conversation. I recalled our last meetup, where he leaned in with his usual eagerness. Teach me your investment strategies, Daniel. I want to live like you do. A harmless request, I thought at the time. Now it felt like I had overlooked a looming threat. As I pieced my memories together, I grew increasingly uneasy. My intuition screamed that this was more than a mere financial blunder. I began mapping out the financial trends leading up to the withdrawal, isolating the patterns that caught my eye. It took time and my expert analytical skills, but eventually, the truth began to emerge. I discovered a series of irregular transactions, multiple withdrawals lined up just shy of requiring double authentication. The methodical nature of it all sent chills down my spine. This wasn't just a casual draw from our funds, it was orchestrated sabotage. My stomach twisted as realization struck me. Luis wasn't just borrowing money, he was scheming, possibly funding a lavish lifestyle somewhere else. Resentment bubbled to the surface as I grasped the depths of deception I was facing. Each revelation stoked the fire within me, igniting anger tempered with cold logic. I recognized the danger that lay ahead, but I also understood something fundamental. I had the knowledge and skills to unravel this betrayal, to expose the treachery that threatened my marriage and trust. In that moment, I reaffirmed my resolve. Karma had a way of settling debts, and I was just beginning to probe the depths of this betrayal. The game was afoot, and I was ready. The realization of betrayal weighed heavily on my shoulders as I leaned back in my chair. The dull sound of the computer humming in the background. I could almost hear the whispers of my past. A mosaic of memories that painted the vibrant fabric of my life. Memories of friendship, trust, and warmth faded into shadows as I traveled back through time to re-examine the paths that led me to this chilling moment. Luis and I met during our college years, two eager finance students navigating the treacherous waters of academic competition. We quickly became inseparable, bonding over late-night study sessions and ambitious dreams of Wall Street glory. I was drawn to his charisma, his uncanny ability to navigate social situations while mingling with our professors and gaining favors that could easily tip the odds in our favor. I recalled a particularly sunny day on campus, the sound of laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves as we celebrated the end of finals with friends. Luis had looked effortlessly charming, throwing his arm around my shoulder one moment while regaling our friends with tales of his family's adventures. Daniel here will be chasing millions in no time, he proclaimed, and everyone laughed, raising their glasses of cheap beer in a toast to my future. But as time passed and we ventured into the real world, a creeping sense of discomfort developed around Luis. Subtle signs began to show. He would ask detailed questions about my investment strategies, displaying an enthusiasm that sometimes felt more like a probing interest than casual curiosity. I brushed it aside as brotherly support, blissfully ignorant of what lay beneath our friendship. Samantha, my wife, was a warm-hearted soul, effortlessly charming and always filled with love and laughter. She exuded an infectious spirit that enveloped everyone around her. The two of them hit it off instantly, laughing at inside jokes and sharing stories of our lives. Their bond startled me at first, but but I dismissed it as merely a companionable friendship, until now, in the light of betrayal. I remembered a brief moment of jealousy when I noticed the easy camaraderie they shared, but I brushed it aside, rationalizing that I trusted both of them implicitly. Flashes of them joking during dinner parties invaded my thoughts. Luis leaning too close to her, laughing just a bit too loudly. I never thought much of it. Yet distrust festered with every new revelation. I recalled a time last summer when Samantha mentioned, almost casually, how Luis had asked to borrow a significant amount for an investment opportunity that never seemed to materialize. He seemed so excited about it, Daniel. I thought it was something special. I had dismissed her words at the time, believing in Luis's competence and ability to navigate the financial waters. Naively, I failed to see the strings being pulled behind the scenes, the convergence of greed and betrayal masquerading as friendship. As I delved deeper into the intricacies of our shared accounts, examining dates and amounts, I began to detect patterns that mirrored my suspicions. Where had the money gone? The lack of tangible investments in either my or Luis's name was glaring. I felt the full weight of betrayal wash over me again. This wasn't just about money, it was about trust, the foundation on which my life had been built. Every interaction I replayed in my mind morphed into something sinister. I questioned my past choices, wondering how I had overlooked Luis's increasingly odd behavior, his late-night texts, the constant financial questions, the veiled concerns over our finances. I realized I had been blind, operating under the illusion that my life was anchored by loyalty and brotherhood. In the weeks that followed, the new normal felt surreal. I was constantly aware of the strain beneath the surface of my marriage. Samantha was cheerful as ever, with no hint that shadows loomed over us. I often caught myself studying her face for cracks, for signs of complicity in Luis's schemes. How naive could I have been? I thought about how Luis's betrayal hurt not only my trust, but also the sanctity of our marriage. Samantha loved me and believed in our dreams together. I felt the suffocating burden of my thoughts. I had to shield her from the knowledge of Luis's betrayal until I had solid evidence. The complex web of emotions constructed by years of friendship was unraveling before my eyes. I felt the determination build within me. I would not allow myself to be swept away by tumultuous emotions. I had the tools at my disposal. My analytical skills honed by years in finance would unravel this complex scheme. I would confront Luis and expose the precarious walls he had built around my life. As I closed my laptop, I could almost hear Luis's voice echoing in the distance. What he didn't realize was that I was not the naive friend he assumed me to be. I was an analyst, a detail-oriented strategist. This betrayal would not only be unearthed, it would be brought to light, stripped of any pretense. The clock ticked away, and the stakes grew higher with each moment. I would do whatever it took to reclaim my life and expose the truth, backed by the knowledge that karma has a way of settling debts. My resolve solidified as I steeled myself to delve into the heart of the betrayal, determined to restore the integrity that had been compromised. I was ready to take the plunge. The time for action was approaching. In the days that followed, I focused my energy on crafting a detailed action plan. The tension at home was palpable, but I refused to let fear dictate my next steps. My analytical mind kicked into gear, as I sought to uncover the layers of deceit that had tainted both my friendship with Luis and the sanctity of my marriage. I created a comprehensive spreadsheet, meticulously documenting all the questionable transactions. I recalled every financial conversation I'd had with Luis, noting his veiled inquiries about my investments. Hours slipped away as I pieced together the unsettling patterns that had emerged, indicating that he was leveraging our relationship for his gain. The perfect opportunity to confront him arose when he texted me, suggesting we meet for drinks at our familiar bar, a place filled with memories we had shared. I accepted, concealing my true motives behind a veneer of casualness, the weight of my intentions heavy on my shoulders. As I stepped into the bar, the familiar sense of bourbon and laughter enveloped me. I spotted Luis at our usual table, his grin wide as he waved me over. "Daniel, you made it. I've missed this," he said exuberantly, raising his glass. I mirrored his movement with a forced smile, my pulse quickening with the urgency of my mission. "Cheers, Luis," I said, taking a cautious sip. I studied him carefully. Should I reveal what I knew? Instead, I opted to draw him out, pretending to engage casually in small talk. How's life treating you? I asked, attempting to keep my tone light. Busy as always, investments, family, the usual grind. He leaned back, an air of confidence about him that felt disconcerting. Funny you mention investments. I noticed something odd with our finances, I replied, my eyes locked onto his. The $10,000 withdrawal, it's raising some eyebrows, don't you think? His expression shifted almost imperceptibly, a flicker of apprehension crossing his face. I didn't know anything about that. What are you talking about? He stammered, pretending to look puzzled. It is quite unusual, I pressed. I thought we had an understanding about our finances. I leaned in slightly, watching for any sign of guilt. Luis waved his hand dismissively, his earlier demeanor wavering. Come on, Daniel. You know how these things can get. It's probably nothing. Nothing, I echoed, holding his gaze. Luis, it seems you've been focused on your own initiatives while neglecting our agreement. A flicker of defensiveness ignited in his eyes. You don't need to worry about it. Just trust me, it's all good business. Good business. The term rolled off his tongue like poison. Each word made me more acutely aware of the deception that lay beneath our friendship. Good business. I retorted. This isn't just business, it's betrayal. You've played me for a fool. Luis leaned forward, his previous charm evaporating into a tense resolve. You don't know what you're getting into. It's best if you just stay out of it. My chest tightened, but I wasn't backing down. I already know too much to step away. The truth always finds its way to the surface, Luis. You may think you're clever, but your web of lies is unraveling. For a moment, silence hung between us, thick with unspoken tension. I recognized the urgency. I was standing at the cusp of reclaiming my narrative. I needed hard evidence to fuel my pursuit for truth. As our drinks dwindled, I turned the conversation back to the trust we had once nurtured, dissecting our shared history, layering the facade of camaraderie over what lay beneath. I kept the focus on him, probing for more details, while my mind mapped out the next steps. Over the next few weeks, I vowed to gather concrete proof. I would monitor our accounts closely, scrutinizing every transaction and cross-referencing them with Luis's known activities. Nothing would slip past my watchful eye. I felt a strange mix of tension and determination. I wasn't merely enduring a betrayal. I was preparing to implement my strategy. I had the advantage of knowledge, and soon I would be armed with evidence. The countdown began. If I had to dig deep into this mess and confront Luis once more, I would do so with clarity and insight. The time for action was drawing near, and I was ready to take decisive steps to illuminate the truth hidden in the shadows of our lives. There would be no more doubt, only clarity, and a resolution that would restore not only my trust but also the integrity that had become a casualty of this deception. The sun rose the next morning, casting a harsh light through my window. I sat at my desk, determination coursing through me as I prepared for the deep dive into Luis's life that I had to undertake. The sense of urgency weighed heavily on my shoulders. This was more than a betrayal. It was an assault on everything I had believed in. I logged into our joint banking account, my fingers trembling slightly as I navigated the familiar landscape. I needed to retrace the transactions that felt increasingly suspicious. The sense of betrayal burned in my gut as I skimmed through the account history. Each withdrawal seemed to carry a hidden meaning, as if Luis had been playing a long con with my trust. $10,000. Those 3 simple digits loomed larger than life on my screen. I honed in on each transaction connected to it, noting the dates that lined up with our meetings. Late-night transfers. Curious amounts sent to an overseas account. It was a pattern that spun out like a thread in a tapestry, and I was determined to pull at it until everything unraveled. As I scrutinized the pages, my pulse quickened. I recognized the network of lies beneath the surface of our friendship. Luis had managed to maintain a facade while manipulating our financial dealings. This wasn't just poor judgment. It was scheming on a level I had never anticipated. Feeling increasingly desperate to get to the bottom of things, I reached out to an old college friend, Vanessa. In her new role as a data analyst, She had the knack for deciphering entrenched financial trails. I recalled her prowess for tackling intricate problems and knew she'd be my best asset. Arranging to meet her at our favorite cafe, I arrived early, my anxiety bubbling beneath the surface. When Vanessa walked in, her bright smile quickly faded as I recounted the details of my situation. "Daniel, this is serious. Are you sure you want to dive in?" she asked, concern etched on her features. "I have to. He's crossing boundaries I can't ignore. It's not just about me anymore. It's about everything we've built," I replied, conviction pouring from every word. She nodded slowly, her fingers steepling as she processed the intelligence I provided. "All right, let's see what we're dealing with," she finally said, shifting into focus. Together, we worked tirelessly, sifting through transaction records, taking notes, and tracing Luis's movements. The hours blurred as we shared ideas and insights, propelled by the urgency of our mission. "You've got to check the routing numbers for any links to those out-of-country transfers," Vanessa advised, her brows furrowed in concentration. "Right," I responded, a new level of excitement rising within me. The pieces were starting to fit together like a puzzle. As the sun began to set, we finally hit a breakthrough. Vanessa's screen lit up with data on an offshore account linked to Luis, a clear connection I'd missed. My heart raced. The evidence I'd sought was within reach. This is it. If this proves to be what I think it is, it could change everything, I said, a mix of elation and fear flooding my senses. My resolve sharpened, and I prepared for the next step. The days zipped by as I gathered more specifics. I kept my interactions with Luis carefully guarded, feigning ease as I maintained a veneer of normalcy around Samantha. She could sense the tension but had yet to confront me about it directly. Finally, my determination culminated in setting a date to confront Luis again. I reached out to him, suggesting we meet for dinner at a private restaurant, one devoid of distractions, where I could fully unravel the truth. He agreed with a hint of obliviousness, a casual tone that sparked my frustration. The night arrived, and as I approached our table, I knew the stakes had never been higher. My heart thudded heavily in my chest, anticipation mounting. I sat across from him, the air thick with unresolved tension. "Daniel, good to see you," he said, his smile broad and unguarded. "Luis, we need to talk," I said, cutting to the chase, my gaze unwavering. I pulled out my notes, laying the evidence before him. "Here's the thing. I've traced the money, and it leads straight to you." He leaned back, laughter bubbling from his lips. "Come on, you can't be serious. You think you're going to catch me in some trap. This isn't a trap, Luis. It's an unveiling. You've manipulated our relationship to fund whatever deception you're concocting." I pressed firmly, watching as his demeanor shifted from carefree to defensive. His eyes narrowed. "You have no idea what you're messing with. These games you're playing lead to hurt, Daniel." "Games? This is my reality you're distorting. You're jeopardizing everything we've built, and for what greed?" I shot back, feeling emboldened. "What you see as greed is ambition, Daniel. You're too small-minded to understand," he countered, his voice growing firmer, but I could tell I had begun to chip away at his confident armor. "No, Luis. What you call ambition is a betrayal that I won't tolerate," I countered, my voice steady with conviction. The confrontation reached its climax, the tension electrifying the air between us. With every word exchanged, I felt the power shift back to me. The storm of emotions had ultimately positioned me to reclaim my narrative, to stand firm against the man who had once been my brother but had now become, in essence, my enemy. I could see it in his eyes, his bravado was fading, and in that moment, I knew that I was prepared to expose him for the snake he had become. As the confrontation continued, I felt a sense of satisfaction. This would not end until the truth prevailed. I would win this battle with the pieces I had methodically assembled, and I would reclaim not only my trust but also my life. The tension hung thick in the air as we stared at each other, two men on the brink of an irrevocable confrontation. Luis shifted in his seat, the playfulness of our past meetings stripped away, leaving behind the stark reality of betrayal laid bare. I took a deep breath, grounding myself as I prepared to execute the plan I had so painfully crafted over the last few weeks. "Luis," I continued, my voice gaining strength. "This isn't just a misunderstanding. I have everything here, dates, amounts, even the transactions lined up with our meetings. You've been siphoning money right under my nose. Luis's bravado was crumbling. I could see the irritation in his eyes turning into concern. All right, Daniel, he said, tension dripping from his words. You might have numbers, but numbers can be misleading. You need to understand the full picture. His attempt to sidestep the confrontation only fueled my drive. The full picture? As far as I can see, the full picture is you lying to me and exploiting our friendship for your own gain. I leaned closer, lowering my voice. What exactly do you plan to do with this money? For a moment, silence engulfed us, and I could almost hear his mind racing. He was calculating his next move, desperately trying to retain some semblance of control in a scenario that was quickly spiraling out of his hands. It's not what you think. You don't have to blow this out of proportion. Just let it go, Luis replied, his tone shifting from defensive to pleading. He was cornered, and the realization sent a wave of satisfaction through me. No, Luis, I won't let it go. I can't. Not when you've sacrificed our friendship, and my trust, for whatever scheme you've been plotting. His eyes hardened as he sized me up, his facade of charm cracking even further. What if I don't back down, Daniel? What are you going to do? Take me to court. Maybe I will, I shot back resolute. But first I'll expose you. You've underestimated how far I'm willing to go. As the confrontation progressed, I pulled out an envelope filled with printed screenshots of transactions, proof I'd collected meticulously over the days. I passed it over to him, letting him fumble through the pages. Each transaction was a dagger, aimed right at his heart, and I reveled in watching him squirm. Look at this, Luis. You think I'm going to let this slide? Just walk away and pretend like none of it happened. There was a fire in my voice, and I could see his composure faltering as he continued to flip through the papers and analyze the evidence before him. You don't know what you're getting into, he said, looking more cornered than ever. This could ruin everything. And you think it won't ruin everything already? I challenged him, my resolve hardening. You've pulled back the curtain on your true self. If anything, you've definitely ruined our friendship. It's over. Look, Daniel, we can work something out. There's always a way to fix things, he said, his voice softer but still laced with desperation. There's no fixing a betrayal like this, Luis. You've been manipulating me for months, and now you want to bargain. I leaned in, my unwavering gaze fixed on him. The only way this ends is with the truth coming out. You can either confess now, or I'll have no choice but to go public. Luis's bravado flickered, and I could see his mind racing as he weighed his options. You think people will believe you over me? I'm well liked. Everyone will side with me. They won't listen to you, he sneered, trying to regain some footing. Funny you should mention that. I've already gathered support and information from mutual friends. They have seen the changes in you. They've sensed something was off, I said, reserving the knowledge I had of their suspicions to strike a deeper blow. He inhaled sharply, realizing just how completely I'd prepared for this moment. You're making a mistake, Daniel, he warned, trying to regain control. I sensed the tides turning as I leaned back in my chair. No more mistakes. You've made them all, and I'm simply rectifying the course. You betrayed not just me but also everyone who believed in what we had. The urgency in his expression morphed into fear. You don't want to take this route. I'm not the only one involved in this mess. If you open those floodgates, it could have consequences for you too, he said, a hint of genuine concern coating his tone. But it's too late for that, Luis. The boundaries have shifted, and I have to protect what's left of my life. I pushed, feeling the weight of my decision begin to settle into reality. I won't let you twist this narrative. In that charged silence, I realized I had crossed a threshold from which there would be no return. My heart pounded, and an adrenaline rush coursed through me as the confrontation reached its zenith. I am prepared for whatever backlash this draws. You've gambled with everything, and now I control the narrative. He hesitated, caught in the middle of his own web of lies, his facade disintegrating. Why not just drop it? Let's go back to how things were, he said, hoping to coax me back into safety. Because those days are gone. The illusions we had have been shattered. The friendship may never be restored. I leaned forward, locking eyes with him, my voice firm. Either you start confessing or I will take action, and believe me, I won't be easy on you. Luis's shoulders slumped as he surveyed the evidence before him, his empire of deceit collapsing. You've always been a brilliant strategist, Daniel, but I underestimated how far you would go, he whispered, a resigned acceptance creeping into his tone. Then make your choice, Luis. Every minute you stall is another minute I gather more evidence, because now I'm sure of one thing. This will end with my truth prevailing. As I watched him process the weight of our confrontation, I felt a deep sense of resolve wash over me. The stakes had never been higher, and I was standing my ground. It was clear. I was no longer just a victim, but an active participant in this narrative, ready to ensure the truth emerged from the chaos. We'll get to the bottom of this, whether it's through you confessing or it weighs down on your conscience, I stated firmly. The path I had chosen would inevitably chart new territory, but one thing remained certain. I would reclaim my life and my dignity, no matter what it took. This battle was far from over, and I was ready for whatever came next. Luis's eyes darted back and forth, caught in a storm of emotions. I could almost see the gears grinding in his mind as he weighed his options. The room felt suffocating, the flickering candlelight casting elongated shadows, as if they too were witnesses to our reckoning. Daniel, you don't really understand the kind of trouble this could bring, he finally said, the bravado wavering in his tone. There are bigger players involved in this, people you don't want to cross. I leaned in, framing my face with a cold calm that belied the turmoil inside me. Luis, the only trouble I see is the mess you've made of our lives. You've chosen the wrong path, and I won't sit idly by while you drag me down with you. He sighed heavily, the weight of his choices clawing at him now. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, I swear. I had plans, dreams for us, he murmured, a shadow of regret crossing his features. Dreams? You sacrificed everything for greed. What part of that was ever supposed to be a dream? I shot back, the frustration bubbling over like a pot ready to boil. Maybe I thought if I succeeded, you'd come along for the ride, he muttered, attempting to shift blame. It was always about us, Daniel. But I got entangled in it all. My patience had worn thin. Entangled? That's an understatement. You've been deceitful beyond measure. You had a choice, and you opted for betrayal. I pulled my chair back and stood, the gravity of the moment hanging in the air. It's time you face the consequences of your actions. Luis seemed to shrink in front of me, and for the first time, he looked vulnerable. What do you want from me? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. Do you want me to confess? A surge of hope coursed through me, but I tempered it with caution. I want the truth finally. I want you to admit what you've done and face it. If not for yourself, then for the people you've affected, me included. The atmosphere crackled with tension, and I saw his internal struggle shifting to the surface. He ran a hand through his hair, clearly battling between confessing and preserving his pride. Finally, he met my gaze, the warrior spirit within him fading. Okay, I'll confess, but you have to promise me that you won't ruin me. I want to make things right, he said, his resolve crumbling. Make things right? You've ruined my trust, Luis. It's going to take a lot more than a confession to fix that. I countered, my tone even yet full of fire. But I'll listen. Speak. He opened his mouth, words stumbling out like reluctant prisoners. I was approached by investors, people who promise big returns. You know me, saying yes was my first mistake. I thought I could juggle everything. A side project while keeping us both afloat, but it spiraled out of control. He paused, clutching the edge of the table like a lifeline. I thought I could pull through without dragging you into it. By siphoning our funds? I interjected, unable to hold back my disbelief. That's how you thought this could end well. I know, he admitted, defeat washing over him. I was naive. I wanted to impress everyone, but it's all falling apart now, and I can't keep lying. The investments are not legitimate, and they're coming after me. They threaten me. The confession hung in the air like a dense fog, a mix of relief and disbelief coursing through me. Together? You think we still function like that? I scoffed, incredulous at how he could still perceive a bond. You've betrayed me, Luis. There's no together, when you've taken everything and twisted it into this nightmare. Daniel, listen, he pleaded, anguish coating his words. We could still be allies. I can show you everything. You could have proof of my honesty. If you stand by me, I'll protect you from the fallout. I hesitated, watching as he conjured up a plan amid the specter of his prior actions. It was clear that this confession held a seed of accountability, however warped it might be. And what if I expose everything right now? I challenged. What if I walk away and let you face the music alone? He swallowed hard, his facade finally breaking. Then I'll go down, and it will be your fault too, Daniel. You'll be looked at as an accomplice by association, he remarked, voice pitched with desperation. Something shifted inside me as I considered the ramifications of the decisions laid out before me. I wasn't sure if I had made a friend or unleashed a monster. But one thing was undeniably clear. The climax of our narrative was not just about righting wrongs. It was about choosing which way to steer the wreckage we had become. In that pivotal moment, I weighed the growing tide of options against the consequences, feeling the gravity of my choices as they loomed larger. I could either take a decisive step back, allowing the storm to unfold, or extend a reluctant hand to someone who was, for better or worse, still tethered to me by remnants of a shared past. Fine, I said finally, breathing hard as the decision settled over me. We'll confront this together, but know this. If you fail me again, I'll spare no mercy. This is your last chance. Luis's relief was palpable, but I could still see the flicker of fear hiding beneath his bravado. My heart raced as we prepared to face the storm on the horizon. A storm birthed from lies and shattered trust, ready to test the very fabric of what we once considered unbreakable. The climax awaited, and together or apart, we were slung straight into the chaos. Luis and I stood at the edge of uncertainty as we left the restaurant, the weight of our previous conversation heavy between us. My heart raced, not only from the adrenaline of what lay ahead, but from the anxiety of trusting the man who had betrayed me so deeply. We made our way to a secluded corner of the park, an oasis in the city filled with shadows of what had been. The quiet rustling of leaves did little to still my nerves, and I noticed the hesitance in Luis's steps, a man caught between the wreckage and redemption. Are you sure about this? I asked, searching for conviction in his eyes. I have to confront them, he replied, steadiness creeping back into his voice. If I don't, everything goes further down this dark path. Will that be enough? I pressed, a stark reminder of the stakes. What if they don't accept your apology and come after us? I need to talk to them. Lay everything out, he insisted. This was a mistake, but I'm ready to admit it. If we can come clean, we can find a solution that doesn't ruin us. The absence of certainty loomed in the atmosphere, yet I had to admit that his determination ignited a small flicker of hope in me. But you're asking a lot of me, Luis. What if there are repercussions? I can handle it, he assured me. Trust me just this once. As dusk began to envelop the park, I spotted shadows approaching, 3 figures emerging from the darkening landscape. The lead man carried an air of arrogance, and I felt a coil of tension tightening within me. Luis, he greeted with thinly veiled hostility. We didn't expect to see you again after your last disappearance. Yeah, well, I've had some time to think, Luis said, his voice wavering yet attempting to mask his fear. I need to talk to you about the investments. Things aren't going as planned, and we need to work together. Excuses? The man interrupted sharply. No, not excuses, I interjected, stepping forward. We're here to offer the truth. The men flanked each side of their leader, their faces unreadable. And who are you? He inquired, irritation clear. I'm Daniel, I replied, my voice steady. Luis and I have both been involved, and it's time we hold ourselves accountable. Luis shifted beside me, clearly surprised but grateful that I was willing to take this risk for him. The investors exchanged glances, their skepticism palpable. Accountability, the lead man scoffed. You think we care what you have to say? Yes, I insisted. You should, because Luis is ready to come clean. He wants to fix this. The investor didn't flinch, yet something had begun to shift in their demeanor, uncertainty creeping in. And what makes you think we won't report you? He asked, his tone still menacing. Because you'd rather salvage something than face a total loss, Louise countered. I can help direct this back on course without any fallout. Everyone wins that way. Interesting offer, the lead investor mused, his posture slightly relaxing. But why should we believe you? Louise took a deep breath, his resolve solidifying. Because I won't run anymore. I'll confront the truth and work to make things right. The investor's eyes narrowed as they contemplated this new angle. We'll hear you out. He eventually relented, a flicker of interest sparking in his gaze. As the conversation melded into negotiations, I felt a surge of hope replace the earlier tension. By the time the sun dipped fully below the horizon, the dialogue appeared to veer toward a potential resolution. When it was over, Luis turned to me, a blend of relief and gratitude washing over his features. I can't believe we pulled that off. Neither can I admitted, the wave of emotions inside me unfurling cautiously. But we have a long way to go. We can't let our guard down now. Luis nodded solemnly. This experience could help rebuild our tarnished trust, but the road ahead was still steep, filled with remnants of shattered commitment. As we stepped outside into the cooler night air, a sense of clarity emerged over the chaos. We were testing the boundaries of our bond, pushing against the limits of what loyalty meant. Facing the challenges ahead, I felt the flickering flame of hope kindling within me once more. Together, we had taken a leap toward redemption, and for the first time in weeks, the grip of dread loosened, allowing space for resilience to flourish. While unsure of what tomorrow might bring, I understood one thing clearly. We would confront it together.